music.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Attaboy.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you prime, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
You gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner, perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do. It's passion, love, which is why we are prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own!
Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and once again, welcome back to the Grand Prix World Series. My name is Topher Smith, and today we're taking you to Dijon-Bourgogne, a new addition to the Grand Prix World Series calendar, and this is a special one, as it is a track that has been designed by one of our very own. Chris Cavani, the team manager of the Leighton House team, has gone to painstaking efforts to make a track for us in the Grand Prix World Series, and today we get to race on it for the first time. We are all looking forward to seeing how this one transpires and what it could do to shake up the order of the championship as well. Heading into this one, Brendan Hartley leading the way on 69 points, 2 ahead of Marcus Ericsson, with Tatiana Calderon a further 65 back and Wehrlein a further 2 back from that as well. It's very close amongst the top 4, especially in League 2, which we're starting off with today. Alexander Rossi yet to win a race this season, but consistent point scoring, keeping him in the top 5 on 54 points. Kimi Sato, the race winner in Fuji, not had the best luck so far since then and is on 49 points, 6th in the championship. Lucas de Grassi is on 48 points in 7th place, ahead of Jack Aitken, Andre Lotterer and Takuma Sato, keeping both of the Dome drivers within the top 10 heading into this one today. In the team standings, Von Mittal building up a tidy lead of 130 points over Pacific Grand Prix, who are sitting on 85, as well as Zakspeed also on 85. Those two tied on points for Pacific Grand Prix ahead on comeback by virtue of their victory. Domer on 83 points, as well as Mastercard Lola. LaRousse on 58, and Andrea Moda also on 58 points, with Force India on 57. Very close margins between some of these teams across the standings. And then we have Scuderia Coloni and Carlin on 28 and 27 respectively, just keeping themselves within the top 10 in the League 2 team standings. Now, we don't have any driver changes to bring you for the League 2 race today, so we will get straight to it and bring you the grid for today's race at Dijon-Bourgogne. And it is Marcus Ericsson in the Von Mittal who has put it on pole position by a 10th to Mick Schumacher in the Mastercard Lola. Pascal Wehrlein, our latest race winner in the Grand Prix World Series, is 3rd on the grid ahead of Tatiana Calderon, who won at Yongan in South Korea earlier this season. Alan McNish, 5th in the Ram, 7/10 of a second off of Marcus Ericsson's pole time, ahead of Brendan Hartley, our championship leader. A bit of a better qualifying session for him, but still not quite as close as he'd like to be. He'd like to be up there, right to the sharp end, ahead of Ericsson. Gary Paffett is in 7th, ahead of Luciano Bacchetta, and all British row 4, and Jaime Alguersuari and Kimi Sato rounding out the top 10 on the grid today. Alexander Rossi, 11th in the LaRousse, ahead of Oliver Rowland, one of his weaker qualifying sessions so far this season. He will start 12th today, ahead of Sergio Sette-Camera and Andre Lotterer. He is 1.5 seconds off. The Andrea Moda not having a lot of pace at the moment, but they will be hoping to move forward and score some more points today. Teo Porcher and Raffaele Marcello are 15th and 16th, ahead of Dan Ticktum in the Real, Christian Lundgaard in the Scuderia Coloni, Jack Aitken. He's up there fighting for the championship. A poor qualifying session once again for the Brits. He will start 19th. Ahead of Lucas de Grassi, who took a podium last time out to keep his seat as Zakspeed. Maybe a bit of a crashing down to earth for the Brazilian today as he wanders around in the lower reaches of the grid. In 21st is Takuma Sato, ahead of Fabio Lima, Callum Ilott, Mike Conway, Jake Dennis, and Simona Di Silvestro starting at the back today, having picked up a back-of-the-grid penalty last time out in Misano. Her return to the Grand Prix World Series grid, and within the first lap she picks up a penalty. The only way will be forward for the Swiss miss, and we'll see how she gets on when a checker flag falls. I'll take you through the action and get today's racing started. It's over to Tom Cairns.
The Grand Prix World Series
arrives in France at a new venue, Dijon-Bourgogne. Can Marcus Ericsson or who else take the honours here at Dijon-Bourgogne in France? The 5 red lights are on. When they go out, we'll be racing here in Dijon-Bourgogne. It's lights out! And away we go. Marcus Ericsson and Mick Schumacher get off the line. And they seem to have got away very, very well indeed. Watch over Pascal Wehrlein in the other Von Mattel in 3rd position, who's in front of Tatiana Calderon. And Alan McNish, who's gone well in qualifying. He's ahead of his teammate Gary Paffett, who's got off to a good start. Jaime Alguersuari, Oliver Rowland, Luciano Becchetta and Brendan Hartley are in the top 10 so far as they make their way through turn 2 on the opening lap. So Ericsson ahead of the Mastercard Lola, who are looking to bounce back after a disappointing result, really, last time out in Misano. But it's Marcus Ericsson who holds the lead ahead of the German, the son of the 7-time Formula 1 World Champion Michael Schumacher. Mick is looking to excel in the Grand Prix World Series as he looks to give chase to the Swede who is in the lead so far. It's Von Mattel, Mastercard Lola, Von Mattel, Mastercard Lola. The top 5 are all in the same positions as where they were on the grid so far. Right on board with Jaime Alguersuari in the Coloni, who is looking to make a move on looks like Gary Paffett, but the move hasn't quite come off in the end, and so he sits in behind for now. And behind Alguersuari is the Zach Swede of Oliver Rowland, who's shown some promising results so far in his time in the Grand Prix World Series. He's looking to build on that more for Zach Swede today. He's just been overtaken by the man in your picture on board, Luciano Becchetta, who gets through on the Brits and then goes up into 8th position. But there is the field coming around to complete lap 1. Ericsson leads, Schumacher second, it's Wehrlein, Calderon, McNish, Paffett, Alguersuari, Becchetta, Rowland and Hartley in the top 10. Outside the points are Sergio Sette Camara and Camille Sarto, Alexander Rossi, Teo Porchet and Christian Lundgaard. And there we see a move from Jaime Alguersuari getting through on Gary Paffett, and the Spaniard is up into 6th position. Back to the front, Marcus Ericsson has still got Mick Schumacher all over the back of him. Through turn 3 they go. There are 11 turns on this 3-mile circuit of Dijon-Bourgogne. Circuit designed by the Leighton House team manager Chris Cavaney. Designed to present some overtaking opportunities and some strategic options as well for the teams and drivers during the course of the races that we have today. League 2 right now. League 1 will be coming up later on. And we see Luciano Becchetta in the Carlin. Round the outside of Gary Paffett as they come through. At the end of the back straight. The back straight looks like a runway when you look at it. But it almost paid off there for Luciano Becchetta trying to get through on Paffett, but the move wasn't able to be pulled off on that occasion. And now we see the dome of Camille Sarto, who's going almost toe-to-toe with Sergio Sette Camara, who makes a move on his teammate Brendan Hartley. And so the Brazilian is ahead of the Kiwi. Brendan Hartley going into this round as the League 2 Championship leader. The top 4 in the championship arriving in this round, 6 points apart from from the top 4, I should say. We saw a new fastest lap being posted. I think that was Marcus Ericsson who's just posted that. And we are on lap 3 now of this League 2 Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix. And the top 5 remains unchanged. And so Ericsson is hoping to bounce back after his misdemeanor in Misano, where he simply ran over the curb at turn 1 very heavily, which wrecked the front suspension, and that ended his race on the spot. And how costly will that be at the end of the season? He goes into this round second in the championship, 2 points behind Brendan Hartley, who also failed to finish in Misano, with Tatiana Calderon and Pascal Wehrlein reaping the rewards and closing in as we approach the halfway point in this 3rd season of the Grand Prix World Series. And we see a move there from the Carlin of what looks like Luciano Becchetta getting through on Gary Paffett and moving up into 7th position, making it through on the inside this time, unlike on the previous lap. And Becchetta is through, so Paffett is beginning to struggle at the moment. And now we look at Sergio Sette Camara, who almost lined up a move there on Oliver Rowland, and further back we see Alexander Rossi. It looks like Alexander Rossi making a move there on the other Pacific, or it might have been Kamir Sartsu who's got through. But there we are, Ericsson still in the lead, and another new fastest lap, 146.6 for the Von Mattel driver. Mick Schumacher. We can't see what exactly the lap times are that he's doing. I'm sure he's keeping up with Ericsson, no problem at all. Von Mattel going into this race 45 points clear of Pacific and Sax Speed, who are second and third, and 47 clear of fourth place Dome. Now I will mention that the top 3 teams in League 2 will go up to League 1 next season, and the bottom 3 teams of League 1 will go the other way down to League 2. And what also is coming up after the Dijon-Bourgogne round is the mid-season test, where each of the team's test and reserve drivers will get a go in the cars, and the managers will have access to the lap times that they've been posting, which can help them decide whether any changes are needed. Lucas Di Grassi locking up there. We've just seen a replay of him locking up and remaining in front of Mike Conway. Lucas Di Grassi, who came through from 11th on the grid to 2nd last time out, making the strategy work for himself on the one stop. He was leading for a lot of the race, but until Pascal Wehrlein got through on him, around about 15 laps to go before the end of the race. And Di Grassi came home to finish 2nd on that occasion. Important result to keep hold of his drive, for now at least. We see Brendan Hartley getting back through on Sergio Sette Camara, his teammate, and he's goes back up into the points in 10th position behind Oliver Rowland. 4 laps done. And it's a wide circuit as well as Dijon-Bourgogne, and the drivers are making the most of the experience and seem to be enjoying it so far. They seem to like the flow of the track itself all the way through. So running down on the reserve and test drivers from League 2, who will be taking part in the League 2 mid-season test. Just running through from Mastercard Lola. So we've got Sebastian Ogier, who will be in the car, along with Susie Wolf. In LaRousse, you've got Narain Karthikeyan and Jorg Muller. At Pacific, Robert Wickens and Pietro Fittipaldi. Coloni have Marcus Armstrong and Vincenzo Sospiri. Sax Speed have Sam Bird, who raced for the team earlier on this season before he was dropped in place of Oliver Rowland. Corinne Chandok is the other driver who will take part in the test for Mike Smith's team. Jerome D'Ambrosio and Mark Marquez will be in the Force Indias for Ed Spencer's squad. At Riel, you've got Oliver Turvey and James Collado, Andrea Moda, Charles Peak and Eduardo Mortara. At Von Mattel, you've got Esteban Gutierrez and Lucas Oyer. At Ram Racing, Sebastian Loeb and Tommy Byrne. And whilst we speak, that looks like Kamir Sartsu who's carrying in his chute. And I think he's about to pull off the circuit. Unfortunately, it's the Dome driver. So Kamir Sartsu is the first driver to retire from the Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix. And it looked like a puncher to me, given how that car is lifting up in the air. And yeah, it is a puncher for the Japanese pilot. And carrying on where I left off, Dome, I've got Marino Sato and Nobuharu Matsushita, who will be in the cars for then. At Carlin, Felipe Drogovic and Max Chilton. And finally at Dams Vion, got Valentina Rossi, who was recently dropped by Jake Sanson in favour of Simona Di Silvestro, and the other driver in the car will be Catherine Legg. And Alan McNish locking up in the Ram. Alan McNish, who's only finished in the points once this season, that came in Fuji, where he brought the car home in 4th position. Ram haven't had too much to celebrate so far this campaign. They've only picked up 13 points, I believe, throughout the campaign. Sitting 11th at the moment. Gary Puffett got the pole position point on his debut in Fuji. McNish got the 4th place finish at the same race. So we're hoping to build on that sometime soon. It's unlikely they'll get promoted, but there's a chance that they can get some morale going and get some results put on the board. They can make a late push for promotion if they're up for it. And we can see Alexander Rossi in 12th position behind Sergio Sette Camera, and further back there was a move from, well, it looked like Christian Lundgaard, who tried to make a move on Teo Pourchaire. And behind Lundgaard is Rafael Marciello, who's making his second appearance in the Grand Prix World Series, racing for Force India. And there we can see the sole surviving dome of Takuma Sato behind Lucas Di Grassi, and that's the battle for 19th position. Behind Sato is Mike Conway, and then it's Callum Ilott, Fabio Lima, Simona Di Silvestro, and we missed who was in 25th position. And looking at where they were on the grid in comparison to where they are right now, I think that was Jake Dennis, who was at the back, who has had another qualifying session to forget. The Andrea Motors seem to be struggling recently with their qualifying performances, although Andre Lotterer qualified in 14th position and he dropped down the order at the start. So Lucy Ballwood not having the best time of it in recent races. It was looking promising at the beginning of the season for her team, but they've seemed to have dwindled in some way and allowing other teams to catch up and be ahead of him on raw pace. And there is Brendan Hartley behind the Ram of Gary Puffett for 8th position as they come out with the right-hander. Mick Schumacher in 2nd position behind Marcus Ericsson, who's continuing to lead on 1.5 seconds clear of the German as they come towards the end of lap 7. And we won't be too far away from pit stops. We are expecting some to go on a 2, others to go on a 1. And I don't know whether I saw someone ducking into the pits at the end of the lap there, whether it was just them coming out of the last corner onto the pit straight. There is Ericsson, hoping to make it 3 wins this season. Already a race winner in rounds 3 and 5. That would have been in Zentel and Kyalami. He hasn't scored a point since his win in Kyalami. He could do with making up for that here and get another win and put Formatel ever closer to promotion. And a good result for Marscard Lola could see them move up to 2nd. They only arrived, so they arrived just 2 points off 2nd place Pacific, who are also tied with Zach Speed. Marscard Lola went into this round 5th in the Sun-Ins, as we see Fabio Lima recovering from a spin. He's been in the gravel trap as the Swiss. He's getting back on the circuit now, and he's left himself with too much to do. And he'll have to hope for a lot of misfortune from others later on in the Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix of League 2. Ericsson, 1.5 seconds clear of Schumacher as Hartley continues to battle it out with Paffett. He tried to make a move on him at the end of the back straight. Going for it up the inside, and it was almost contact. I think Paffett was able to keep the car from connecting with the Pacific. So Hartley losing a bit of time there, losing a little bit of ground, which he'll have to try and make up. But he needs to also defend from Oliver Rowland, who will have caught up to him. And now we're right on board with the Real of Dan Tixon, who's having a better time of it so far, and he's just got past Rafael Marciello. And it looks like a problem there for Takuma Sato, and it looks like Dome's race is going to end after only 7 laps. David Young's cars are already out, and that's a huge setback in their push for promotion. Both of the Domes are out of the race. And we see Simona Di Silvestro in the Dams final, making a move on, well, looks like Callum Ilott, not able to make the move stick. She served the back of the grid job as Alguersuari runs wide, but gets away with it. What I was going to say with Di Silvestro is that she got a back of the grid drop for her involvement in the Constantina collision with Dan Tixon and Takuma Sato on the opening lap in Misano last time out. She doesn't seem to be too fussed with all that. Oh, and there's an incident involving Jack Aiken and Andre Lotterer. We're seeing a replay. Now, who was at fault for this one? We are about to have a look. Although, you have to say maybe Aiken cut across on Lotterer too late. So we'll see what the stewards say on that one. We'll ride on board with Lotterer to see what happened from his perspective. So he's doing everything right. Although Aiken ran wide and cut across on Lotterer as he rejoined. Now, if I was to put the blame on anyone there, I'd probably have to say Jack Aiken. Although he's lost ground because of the collision. So the stewards may not take any action to that. And it's actually a time penalty and a back of the grid drop for Lotterer, which is an interesting one. So, subject to appeal, Andre Lotterer will have 10 seconds added to his race time. And we'll start from the back of the grid at the next round in Brands Hatch. We see Rossi getting through on Oliver Rowland up to 11th position. Rowland beginning to struggle at the moment. Hartley is ahead of Paffett now into 8th place. Right on board with Mick Schumacher. We're around about a quarter of the way through this lead to Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix. And we won't be too far away from pit stops. Now, who will duck into the pits first and how long will they be in the pits for? That's something we will want to know in due course. Pascal Wehrlein in P3, doing very well indeed, as is Dan Titson, who's trying to make his way through the field on Christian Lundgaard, but can't make the move stick. Riel, who scored their first point in the last 6 races in Misano, thanks to Mike Conway bringing the car home in 10th position. Titson, I think, ended up 12th on the classification after needing to pit in at the end of lap 1 for a new nose. He recovered rather well, did the young Brit. And now he's looking to make his way through on Christian Lundgaard anytime soon. But there is Ericsson in P1. And it's Mick Schumacher second. It's Pascal Wehrlein and Tatiana Calderon. The Formatels and the MasterCard Leilas occupying the top 4 positions as we speak. Now, Formatel, who have yet to get both cars on the podium in the same race so far this season, or ever in the Grand Prix World Series for that matter. And we saw a move from Alexander Rossi on Sergio Sette camera to put him up into 10th place and into the points. Jake Dennis doing the same with Alexander Rossi's teammate Callum Ilott, and he's gone up into 21st position. Back with Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd place. He's a couple of seconds ahead of 4th place Tatiana Calderon, who's having a brilliant season so far. There's contact between Rossi and Sette Camera into turn 1. We'll want to get a replay of that because that looked clumsy from Sette Camera's part. He was up the inside and he just tapped him out of the way. That was never Sette Camera's corner. And I'd imagine he'll probably get the same punishment as what Andre Lotterer got a few moments ago. And it's a 10-second time penalty, but no grid drop for Sette Camera. It's a shame there for the Pacific team who could do with both cars finishing in the points today. It is still possible, but Sette Camera's job has become increasingly harder as we see Théo Pourchaire running wide but staying on the circuit. Titsum is through on Lundgaard for your information whilst all of that was going on. He's up into 14th place now behind the Frenchman. Now, is he alongside enough to have a go? Probably not on this occasion. We're on lap 11. Ericsson leading Schumacher, leading Wehrlein, leading Calderon. Eliminich doing a fine job in the Ram in 5th position is the Scotsman. And it's Alguersuari, Paqueta, Hartley, Paffett and Sette Camera in the top 10. If the race was to finish as it is, Alexander Rossi would inherit the final point. The fastest lap and pole position points are occupied by Marcus Ericsson. It's certain that Marcus Ericsson will keep the pole position point because he started the race from there. What is uncertain as to whether he'll keep hold of the fastest lap point. He'll want every point he can get from this race, will Ericsson. And if the race was to finish as it is, he'll lead the League 2 Drivers' Championship going into the halfway point. We're on lap 12 now. 1.3 seconds is the margin between the top two. In terms of where we'll be racing this season, well, so far we've been racing in Sepang, Yongam, Sentul, Fuji, Kyalami, Istanbul, Misano, and Dijon-Bourgogne that you are watching right now. After the halfway point, we go to Brands Hatch, then to Hockenheim, Pannonia in Hungary, Valencia in Spain, and it's off to South America for a triple header in Buenos Aires, Curitiba in Brazil, San Carlos in Venezuela, and then the 16th and final round will be at Laguna Seca, California, USA. And there is Ericsson. If we are seeing two stoppers, we would see them right about now, you would think. We're not seeing any pit stops at the moment. We're right on board with Marcus Ericsson, who's continuing to lead, making good use of it so far. And further back we see his German teammate Pascal Wehrlein holding up Tatiana Calderon. And Alan McNish is doing his best to keep up with them as well. And looking at the pace from Ericsson down, I mean, if you look at where Brendan Hartley is in 8th, he's already 27 seconds behind. We're on lap 13. So he's losing, on average, more than 2 seconds a lap on the leader. Well, Ericsson's still going. We're at 1/3 race distance. And there we see Eilert running in 23rd place. He's having another off day so far. Chris Hosey is the team manager of the LaRue squad. And Eilert hasn't exactly been putting in the performances that he'd have been after. Alexander Rossi has been doing that more often than he has. But there is Wehrlein running in 3rd place. In terms of his season so far, running in 4th in the Drivers' Championship, including back-to-back victories. And we are seeing a pit stop involving Mick Schumacher from 2nd place. Now, vitally important he gets out in clean air, does Mick. He was run about 1.5 seconds behind Ericsson when he came in. Alguersuari and Becchetta are also in for their first pit stops. And Mick Schumacher will get out ahead of Gary Paffett in clean air. That's important for him. Now, what does Ericsson decide to do? Does he respond by pitting in? Or does he carry on out there and stick with his own strategy? We just saw a move there from Gary Paffett, or Sergio Sette Camera trying to make a move on Paffett into turn 2, which didn't come off. So it'll probably take around about 30 seconds to do a pit stop and come back out again. Just looking to see where Mick Schumacher is as he comes through sector 2. And I'd imagine on the fresher tyres he'll be going a lot quicker than what Ericsson will be doing. Yeah, he's cut down the gap by a couple of tenths in the last sector. So if I was Ericsson, I would consider pitting in this lap. So Von Mattel 1 and 2 on track. And now we see Becchetta getting through on Eilert just after his stop there. Brendan Hartley also came into the pits for your information, as did Lucas Di Grassi and Andre Lotterer, I believe. And so Marcus Ericsson comes into the pits, as does Tatiana Calderon, which hands the lead over to Pascal Wehrlein. Alan McNish is in also, but Roland won't be getting to the checker flag. And he's not going to be able to get back to the pits either. So for the first time in his Grand Prix World Series career, Oliver Roland is not going to finish. And it's a shame there because they're running up very well in the points. And it's an engine problem for the Brit. The third driver to retire from the race. And there's Ericsson getting out just in front of Schumacher there. And it was almost a collision between the pair of them there. And Schumacher ran wide to avoid contact there with the Swede. He will not like that one bit. But they're closer now than where they were before the pit stops had begun. Calderon rejoined behind Pourchaire in 6th place. She'll be on the fresher tyres though, so she should make light work of the Frenchman in due course. So Schumacher getting into the slipstream of Ericsson. Does he have a go at the end of the back straight? The answer is no, as they come through. So they come through once more. And you can see Roland's stricken Zach speed pulling off at the hairpin. Lucas Di Grassi left to salvage what he can find as Wehrlein comes into the pits at the end of lap 15. Ericsson will take back over the race lead. Now Wehrlein's pit stop is an important one because he's in the fight with Tatiana Calderon, who came in the lap before, as Alguersuari gets through on Mike Conway for P10. Mike Conway coming in from what was 11th place. He's hoping to salvage something from this one to build on where he ended up in Misano. He got a point out of it, which is Riel's 2nd point of the season. As we see Alan McNish getting held up behind Rafael Marciello. There's Ericsson ahead of Mick Schumacher. At the end of the back straight, we should see a move from Tatiana Calderon in a moment, and there she is. She was not able to get in front of Wehrlein, and that was because she got held up behind Pourchaire. Not anymore now, though. She's through ahead of him. And Gary Paffett, of all drivers, is through on Wehrlein and Calderon because he pitted in before they did. And he was able to take advantage of that by completing an undercut. So he's ahead of them on merit, is Paffett, and up into 3rd place. As we see Rossi think about a move on Lima, who has had a race to forget so far. And another new fastest lap being posted by Marcus Ericsson, 146.6. It's highly probable that he'll get the point for the fastest lap, given the pace that the Von Mattel has over the others. The closest challengers to that will probably be MasterCard Lola. And we are seeing an overtake from Alan McNish on Christian Lundgaard for 7th position. He's got through no problem. Oh, and we see an off there from Jake Dennis. Not sure what's happened there involving him as he comes together with someone. Or has he run wide? It looked like he ran wide there. There was a four-seater alongside it. That would have been Jack Aiken. So I want to see what happened from Jack Aiken's point of view. And was there contact made? I don't think there was. So I don't think any action is going to be taken on that. Both cars staying on the circuit. Ericsson and Schumacher separated by just under a second on lap 17. Marcus Ericsson, who raced for Simtech at the beginning of season 1 before he was dropped After 6 races, he went over to Midland. Didn't fare much better. He set out season 2 after no one had offered him a drive to race for them. And then Ewan Gale called him up and the Fonmatel squad, and he's most certainly made the most of the opportunity. He's done a stellar job so far. Gary Puffer in P3 ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, who's very much under threat now from Tatiana Calderon. I wonder how long it'll be before Wehrlein does make a move. I can say that Ericsson's posted another new fast lap of the race. He's able to pull away from Mick Schumacher this time. And now we see Pascal Wehrlein, who's pulled out of the slipstream on Paffett, and he's through ahead of him into turn 1, is he? Yeah, he's through, no problem. Is Calderon going to follow suit and get through? She needs to. And the answer to that question is that she has not got through into turn 2. She waits behind for now. And Théo Pourchaire, who stayed out there in the Dan's fight on doing a superlative job, it looks like he's going to go on the one-stop strategy. And we go back with Pascal Wehrlein, and further behind is the Ram of Gary Paffett, and it looks like Calderon is going to be pulling alongside now, which she is. And so Paffett, oh, that was a little bit of a little bit naughty that from Calderon, the way she moved across on the ramp. Although she was through on that occasion, but that was a little bit marginal there from Calderon, who goes up into 4th place now. Gary Paffett dropping down to 5th. And on lap 18, we're approaching the halfway point in this League 2 race, the first race to be held in Dijon-Bourgogne. As we see Sete Camera looking to make a move on Fabio Lima, who hasn't stopped yet in this race. And Sete Camera is finding it hard to get through on these drivers. And 1.6 seconds is the margin between Ericsson and Schumacher. And there's Lima holding up Sete Camera, and behind Sete Camera is the Real of Dan Titsem, I believe. And Ericsson continuing to pull away as we watch Brendan Hartley getting through on Callum Ilott now for 12th place, or does he? Because Ilott is able to hold him off for now and stay ahead for the time being, but how long will it be before Hartley gets through on the LaRousse? He's not through there. He's set a camera. He may be able to get through on him into turn 2, which he doesn't. He had to lift off the throttle there to avoid contact, and the car behind him, Dan Titsem, had to do the same. We're on lap 19 as we watch on in Dijon-Bourgogne. Ericsson out in the lead with Schumacher second, and it's Wehrlein, Calderon, Paffett, McNish, Pourchaire, Alguersuari, Lundgaard and Paqueta, as we see a move there from Brendan Hartley now on Callum Ilott. He's through and up into 12th place. Back with Pascal Wehrlein, who's running in P3. And we should start to see the one-stoppers making their moves very, very shortly. And Lucas di Grassi is under attack from the Andrea Moda of, I think that's Jake Dennis who's battling with there, might be wrong. But we see now Calderon running in 4th place. And it's Gary Paffett, Manish, the 2 Rams in the top 6, which is good to see. Ross McGregor. Happy to see both cars up there, the team manager of the Ram Racing squad. As we see Rossi locking up into turn 2 and getting away with it. Now the top 4 all pitted, as did Paffett and McNish. It'll be interesting to see where they all end up after their second stops are completed compared to the one-stoppers. We see a move from Alan McNish on Gary Paffett into the right-hander after the back straight. And that's a change of position between those two. McNish ahead of Paffett into 5th position. Further behind we can see Becchetta in the slipstream of Christian Lundgaard. Are we going to see an overtake very shortly? Well, I think we are now, because Becchetta is up the inside of Lundgaard into the penultimate turn of the circuit. And that is him through into 9th place. There we can see Ericsson in P1 ahead of Mick Schumacher. It's Pascal Wehrlein, Tatiana Calderon, Alan McNish, Gary Paffett, Jaime Alguersuari and Teo Bocher, who's in for his only stop from 7th position. Now it won't be too long before we see the 2 stoppers coming in again. So where will Porsche come back out in all of this? I think he's come out in 14th position. He'll get out in front of Sete Camera, no problem. So it's worked out rather nicely for Porsche. We can make the most of the new tyres that he's on and go after Rossi. If you are experiencing any technical difficulties, we can only apologise. We do what we can in this situation. And we see a Lima off the circuit there in the Carlin. He has had a day to forget already. And it hasn't got any better for him, unfortunately. Is he able to get out of that gravel trap, or is that curtains for his race here? I think he'll get back out. And a little bit of time for him to get out of there. And he's gone back in again as Lima. It's costing horribly here. He's not doing his team any favours here with the way he's performing in the gravel trap. And he's spun the car around as he's trying to rejoin. So Lima will get back out on the circuit very, very shortly here. And he's going round the wrong way on the circuit. Now this is really terrible to see here from Fabio Lima. And I would think he is going to be under investigation for that. Because he's handled this situation very, very poorly. And it's not good driving standards either. And he's out of the race now, is Lima. So he goes no further in this race. And we'll look to see what the stewards make of that particular incident involving him. And we'll look to see what the stewards make of it. I don't know if we saw anything in terms of the punishment that Lima got. We're just finding out what Lima got for his antics in the gravel trap. So we're on lap 22, or just completed lap 22. And Ericsson continuing to lead ahead of Mick, with Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd place. With Calderon 4th, McNish 5th. It's Alguersuari, Becchetta, Lundgaard, Hartley and Rossi in the top 10. There's Wehrlein in P3 as Lundgaard comes into the pits now in the Coloni. Paffett rejoined ahead of Pourchaire after his trip to the pits. And Lundgaard is way behind Pourchaire. He's outside the top 15 now, is Lundgaard. He's got some work to do from here. And Lundgaard is about to be overtaken, I think, by Rafael Marcello. 4 drivers out of the race so far: Fabio Lima, Oliver Rowland, Takuma Sato and Kamiya Sato. 22 still going. Callum Ilott in 22nd and last place behind Jake Dennis. There is Mick Schumacher in 2nd place, 2.8 seconds off the lead. Doing all he can for the time being. But it won't be too long before the second stops arrive. These two are continuing on. Ericsson looking for his 3rd win of the season. And also be the 3rd of his career as well. As we see him move there from Jet Aiken on Simona Di Silvestro. He's gone through, no problem. And there's an engine problem for Andre Lotterer. Andrea Moda's race has gone from bad to worse. Don't think he's going to be able to get back to the pits, or is he? And he's done exactly what Luciano Becchetti did in Misano with the engine problem and get back to the pit lane in time. So at least he'll stay in the race. Will Lotterer. But I think he's about to go down a lap on the leaders by the time he comes back out. He was due in for a second stop anyway. And there are the leaders who are coming round to lap him now whilst he is in the pits. There we see Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd position, who's 4 seconds clear of Calderon. Not doing much to close the gap. And we see Rafael Marcello in 18th position behind Di Silvestro. And Lotterer was able to stay on the lead lap this time, so he actually wasn't lapped by the leaders. There's Lundgaard up the inside of Di Silvestro, who's lost another position, this time to the Coloni. There's Alan McNish running wide. He's a very lucky man to keep it on the track. So Mick Schumacher in 2nd place, still looking good for his best result in the Grand Prix World Series so far. Wehrlein 3rd, Calderon 4th. There's McNish, Alguersuari. As Schumacher comes in from 2nd place in his attempt to undercut Ericsson. And there is Ericsson in the race lead. As Schumacher comes in, vitally important to get out in some track position. I think Alguersuari may well be coming in on this lap as well, on the same lap as what Schumacher's done. Wehrlein is in at the same time. So, will Alguersuari head for the pits, or is he going to continue staying out there? No, he's in the pits as well. Schumacher comes back out in 4th place, behind Alan McNish. So it's very much down to Marcus Ericsson as to when he decides to pit in. Marcus Ericsson, sorry, who decides to pit in. Sorry, Pascal Wehrlein is in the pits. And he's got out in behind Brendan Hartley. I think with Ericsson coming up to lap Andre Lotterer, I think now is the time to head for the pit lane. You can see plenty of drivers in the pits, including Dan Titson, Chet Aiken as well. It's a great effort this from Marcus Ericsson, who's coming round the last turn now before he probably heads for the pit lane. Which means we could well see Tatiana Calderon take the lead for now. Now Ericsson is in the pits for his final stop at the end of lap 26. Now Calderon is coming through. She heading for the pit lane as well. She heading for the pit lane, I should say. Yep, she's doing so, and so is Alan McNish. So Mick Schumacher, who's coming around the pit straight now, is he going to get in front of Ericsson? It's going to be close. Ericsson is leaving the pits now, and I think he's going to be more than enough ahead of the German. Yeah, he's a long way clear, is Ericsson. A good 2 or 3 seconds clear. And it looks like he's very much on course for the victory here in Dijon-Bourgogne in lead 2. Calderon's rejoined behind Pascal Wehrlein. Brendan Hartley is in front of them, but I think he'll be due in the pits in the near future. Piquet's rejoined behind Paffett as well. Mike Conway is also coming into the pits, and Porsche is in front of Piquet by turn 2. Porsche, who's already made his only stop of the race, is in the points and on course for a very good result again for Jake Sanderson's Dams Viant squad. So everyone is completing their last stops. Now Brendan Hartley is in third place. I'd be interested to know what his fuel gauge is to ensure that whether he's actually going to be pitting again or not. I would say he's going to be pitting again before this race is over, because it was around about the bottom end of the points, if not outside of the bottom end of the points, before his pit stop. Now we see a battle of the LaRousses. Rossi and Eilert going to battle for 14th. Rossi going to the outside. Is he going to be able to make the move? He goes to the outside, keeps his foot in there. Eilert knows he's there, and Rossi has to run wide to avoid contact with his British teammate. And Ericsson's off! I don't believe it! Ericsson's off the track! Is that at turn 2? Is that at turn 3? Is that turn 2? He's gone off the track into the goal, and he's wrecked his front wing! And that hands the lead to Mick Schumacher in the Mastercard Lola. So as Brendan Hartley comes into the pit lane for his last stop, Mick Schumacher takes the lead of the Dijon-Bourgogne Lead 2 Grand Prix, thanks to Marcus Ericsson's poor error at turn 2. And he needs to be very careful here, does Ericsson. Does not rejoin into the path of other drivers. And he won't want to get in the way of his teammate Pascal Wehrlein either. What a disaster for the Fonmetal team. And for the second race running, Marcus Ericsson loses a potential race win thanks to his own making. Di Silvestro coming in for her last stop now in the Dans Viant. And so Marcus Ericsson getting round as quickly as possible. With the front wing change, I'd probably say he's going to end up rejoining or roundabout outside the points. He'll probably rejoin outside the points, but it'll be in a quicker Fonmetal than some of the others. So by the time he rejoins, he's probably looking at around about maybe even 10th place at best, depending on how quick he can get through the field. But all of this is losing him time. So Marcus Ericsson will come in from second place, and Verline will go up into second, and Calderon up to third place in the MasterCard Lola. And that potentially changes things in the team's championship as well as the drivers. Now, if the positions were to remain as they are, but providing that Ericsson comes into the rejoins outside the points, Hartley's not on course to score any points in this one. Verline and Calderon are. But Verline will, at the moment, go in front of Calderon, with Marcus Ericsson holding the points for pole position and fastest lap. He'll tie with Hartley on going in front of him, but Pascal Verline's second place would move him into the lead of the championship, and Calderon will go up into second place. So Hartley, who was the championship leader coming into this round, is probably going to end up in fourth by the end of it. And Ericsson's pit stop has left him in 12th place behind Brendan Hartley, and there he is, look. With too much work to do, with not a lot of time left in the race now. Just 11 laps to go here in France. There's still the League One race coming up later, of course. $18 seconds is the margin that Mick Schumacher has over Pascal Verline. He can afford to take it very easy from now until the checker flag. MasterCard Lola look to be getting their second victory of the season, and that's an engine problem for Simona Di Silvestro, and she had only just pitted as well, and she's not going to be making it to the end of this race, unfortunately, which is a shame. Very much getting stuck in with the rest of them is Di Silvestro, which is great to see, which is something that Valentina Rossi was not really able to do, as the yellow flags are out there for Mick Schumacher to be aware of her presence getting off the circuit. Luciano Becchetta looks to get through on Gary Puffett into turn 1. He can't get through on this occasion, although he may decide to have a go into turn 2, get into the slipstream. He's up the inside, is Becchetta, but they make contact! And Becchetta, and Puffett is off the racetrack! Now, he's in the wall, is Puffett, but it looked like Becchetta came from too far back to have a go. Was it Becchetta's fault, or did Puffett not leave him enough space? I would say it leans more in Becchetta's part, to be honest with you. And Puffett's going to lose an enormous amount of time. Well, Puffett's going to lose an enormous amount of time, and I think Becchetta is about to lose a lot of time as well because of this incident here. And he's punted him way off the circuit, and I'll probably say it's going to be a 10-second time penalty and a back of the grid shot for the next race for the Brit, as Puffett looks to get out of the gravel trap, and he's damaged his front wing and almost taken out another driver as he rejoins back onto the racetrack. Now, what will the stewards say on that incident between Becchetta and Puffett? 30-second time penalty and back of the grid shot for Becchetta. So wherever he ends up, 30 seconds will be applied to his race time. And as it stands, he'll fall right out of the points. No question. Well, Marcus Ericsson's up to 9th place now, thanks to that. He'll move up to 8th, technically, once the penalty of Becchetta's is applied. As Brendan Hartley looks to get back into the points himself in the Pacific by getting a move done on Christian Lundgaard. He's not able to make the move stick on this occasion. And through all this, Algo Suarez found himself up in 5th place in the Colonia, which is good to see from him by his standards, as Ericsson gets through on Marcello and up to 8th place. An important move for him. Marcello running up there in 9th place for Force India. His teammate Jack Aiken is well out of the top 15, not looking like he's going to be scoring anything from this. And Puffett will be making his way into the pits at the end of the lap he's just about to complete. And he'll fall right to the back of the field now. Might even try and go for the fastest lap if he's lucky enough. That's as good as it will get for him here. And Paul Scher is in P7 on track, will be promoted to P6. And so Pascal Verlaine is now 19 seconds behind Schumacher. looking good for second place and the lead of the championship. And Mick Schumacher will be going around to complete that 31. Showing no sign of weakness at the moment. I think Paffett rejoined in front of Schumacher as he rejoins, so he's not down a lap. So he can try and get something out of this by going for the fastest lap, because you can get a point for setting the fastest lap regardless of where you finish in a Grand Prix World Series race. Calderon in P3. Elimination in P4. There's Alguersuari in P5. Paqueta, you can see in your picture, locking up into the last turn, is in P6. As it stands with his 30-second time penalty, he'll drop to 14th. So he needs to bridge a gap as much as possible, pull away as much as possible over those behind. Christian Lundgaard, who's running in 10th place, or Brendan Hartley's running in 11th, are only 13 seconds behind Paqueta. And Paqueta's not going to have enough time to make up the margin to stay in the points. And Hartley getting through on Lundgaard into turn 2, providing they don't make contact. And he wasn't able to get through on this occasion. There's Calderon in P3, 6 seconds behind Verline as Tipton runs wide at turn 1, but stays on the circuit. Five drivers out of the race so far. Simone Di Silvestro is out, as is Fabio Lima, as is Oliver Rowland, as is Takuma Sato, as is Kamiya Sato. 5 have been eliminated from this race. We've got 7 laps remaining here in Dijon-Bourgogne, as Hartley gets through on Lundgaard this time and goes up into 10th place and the last points paying position. But Lundgaard is fighting back on Hartley. Is he through on this occasion? It almost looked like he was for a moment, but I think Hartley had been able to resist. Di Grassi locking up into the hairpin on the exit of the backstretch. We're just getting a replay of it, or we're getting a replay of the overtake from Lundgaard on Hartley. Well, it wasn't actually an overtake. I think we were just concerned as to whether they were going to come together or not, but thankfully they didn't. There is Verline in second position. Marcus Ericsson's running in 8th place, just a couple of seconds behind Porsche, but he's on fresher tyres than the Dams Vion. So he's looking at a net P6, is the Swede. I don't think he's going to have enough time to catch Jaime Alguersuari. So should he get 6th place, that will give Von Mattel at the moment 28 points. Mascarlola would collect 40. So Mascarlola would close the gap down by 12 points. And the gap before today's race was 45. It would come down to 33. With Mascarlola going up into second place in the team's championship, and more importantly in the promotion places. Dome are not going to be scoring today, and Zach Speed at the moment are not going to be scoring either. Coloni and Ram look as though they're going to be collecting nicely here today, as Sete Camera gets through on Callum Eilert by the looks of it, and he's through nicely into 13th position in the Pacific. There is Verline running in P2. As we see Ericsson going for the move on Porsche on the pit straight on lap 34, and he's through, and the overtake is done before the corner. Porsche didn't fight it on this occasion. He knows that Ericsson is not the man that he needs to be fighting. go now in this one. Mick Schumacher's lead is over 20 seconds. I'd be interested to know how Gary Paffett's getting on with his pace, because he's trying to recover from his error, or from the collision he had with Luciano Becchetta. Now, Becchetta's penalty would at the moment drop him to 13th. He's 4 seconds clear of Ericsson on track. Doing his best to make up as much time as possible is Becchetta, who hasn't scored a point since round 3. Well, he actually did score last time out, I should say, in Misano, which was a 7th place finish after the engine problem he had, which made him pit. But at the moment, with the time penalty he's got, it doesn't look like he's going to be keeping hold of a point scoring position here. Now, as it stands with Becchetta's penalty, he would drop to 12th behind Alexander Rossi. And there we can see Mick Schumacher. That was Gary Paffett in the foreground there. Mick Schumacher not too far away from lapping him. He's run about 4 laps away from victory as Mick, for his first win in the Grand Prix World Series, adding his name to the long list of drivers who have won a race in the Grand Prix World Series. Pascal Wehrlein is one of them. He's won the last 2, but that streak is about to end today, unless something happens to Mick up front. As we see Andre Lotterer getting out of shape, but keeping his car on the circuit. And Gary Paffett is running in 21st place. He's 9 seconds behind Jake Dennis, which will be less than that when he crosses over the line. And as we see Mick continuing on in first place, and Marcel Lola, team manager Marcus Johansson, are going to be celebrating at the moment. And this will be an important one to see them close down the gap to Von Mattel in the team's championship and boosting their hopes for promotion. And I suppose this result for Von Mattel won't be too bad for them either, because Dome and Zaxby won't be scoring points from this race, and so they can bridge further away from them in their quest to seal promotion sooner rather than later. But we are only at the halfway point in the championship, and there's still time for everything to change. And Ericsson is now 2.2 seconds behind Becchetta. That's through sets of 1 they came through. And we are seeing an overtake from Ericsson now on Becchetta. Becchetta was rather slow actually on that back straight. He was not going very fast on that back straight, was the Brit. I'd be interested to know what's happening with the car at the moment. He'll probably need to go into the pit lane to get some repair work done, unless the car is terminal for it to be repaired. You can see the leaders are coming around to complete their 36th lap. Schumacher leading ahead of Wehrlein and Calderon. Final 3 laps of this race now. And we see Becchetta coming into the pits for repairs, and that will be him out of the points for sure, which will see Christian Lundgaard go up into a point scoring position for Coloni, which will be his 2nd points score this season. And Jake Dennis is going to be pulling off with an engine issue here in the Andrea Moda. It's been a race to forget for him, unfortunately, and that's another retirement for his campaign An engine problem there for the Brit. So he is gone. I think he'll still be classified as a finisher. As we see Dan Tixon nearly coming together with Callum Ilott. Getting away with it. Piquetto's just done his pit stop now. He's behind them, but he'll still have a 30-second time penalty applied to his time, which will probably send him down to last place. There we see Hartley in the closing stages making a move on Raffaele Marciello for 8th position, and he's done it. Another couple of points heading in the way of the Kiwi and for the Pacific team. So Borcher running in 7th place there. Marcus Ericsson in 6th. 10 seconds behind Jaime Alguersuari with only 2 laps left. So it doesn't look he's going to be able to make up much ground from there, unfortunately. Now is Ericsson, who will do his best. 9.5 seconds behind with a couple of laps remaining. Calderon will go to the podium for the first time since she won in Yongam in round 2. It was a fabulous result on that occasion for the Colombian, becoming the first woman to win in the Grand Prix World Series. We hope to see more of that in the near future, not just from her, but from other women involved in the Grand Prix World Series, including Simona Di Silvestro, Susie Wolff. And next season, we could well see a change in criteria where the team managers can literally pick any driver competing in a professional championship to race in the Grand Prix World Series, which would be very, very exciting. And I expect to see a lot of new names on the Grand Prix World Series grid next season. And we're right on board with Dan Tixon, trying to get through on Callum Ilott for the race lead. As Mick Schumacher has started the final lap of the race now. And there we can see Piquetto is trying to get through on Tixon. Round the outside he goes. Is he going to be able to pull off the move before the corner? I think he has done. Unless Tixon has other ideas and he's able to stay in front of Piquetto on this occasion. There is Calderon running in P3, looking very good. She's 3 seconds clear of Alan McNish, which is all she needs in order to win this one. And then there's a problem for Chat Aiken in the Force India in the closing stages of the race. And he is going to be out yet again before the checker flag. And he'll pull off in a similar place to where Jake Dennis had pulled off. So Paffett is through, as is Mick Schumacher, who will want to be going to, as he's about to complete his final lap of the race. So Mick Schumacher, in his 4th Grand Prix World Series race, is about to come through and call himself a Grand Prix World Series race winner. He wins the lead to Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix in France. Excellent job from him. Mascot Lola pick up their 2nd race win of the season, and their promotion chances have taken a gigantic boost. 24 seconds behind will be Pascal Wehrlein, who will pick up another podium finish, and he moves into the lead of the Drivers' Championship in League 2 with this result. 2nd place for him here. Tatiana Calderon making it 2 Mascot Lola cars on the podium. What a day for Marcus Johansson, the team manager. Alan McNish 4th, Jaime Alguersuari in a superb 5th place, and then in 6th, what really should have been the race winner, or who should have been the race winner, Marcus Ericsson. But those points could come crucial at the end of the season. Théo Pourchaire, another great result from him, or for him, in the Dans Vaillant. Jake Sanson will be very happy with this, as the Frenchman comes home in P7 ahead of Brendan Hartley. Raffaele Marciello and Christian Lungar will be the rest of those scoring points. Marcus Ericsson will keep hold of the points for fast lap and pole position. So we've just seen the rest of the drivers crossing the line. Alexander Rossi in 11th. Sergio Sette Camera will be 12th. Luciano Piquetto will cross the line in 13th, but will drop back because of his penalty. So Ilott will be 13th, ahead of Dan Tixon. And further behind will be Mike Conway, I believe, and then it's Lucas Di Grassi, Andre Lotterer, and Gary Paffett. So Luciano Becchetta will drop to 19th and last place with that penalty. But it's victory for Marco Lola and for Mick Schumacher, his first in the Grand Prix World Series here in Dijon-Bourgogne. In second place is Pascal Wehrlein ahead of Tatiana Calderon. Alan Minish in fourth place, great result for him, ahead of Jaime Alguersuari. And it's Marcus Ericsson in sixth, Teo Porcher, Brendan Hartley, Rafael Marciello scoring his first points in the Grand Prix World Series in ninth, and Christian Lundgaard making it 2 Colognes in the top 10. In 11th position is Alexander Rossi ahead of Callum Ilott, Dan Tickton and Mike Conway, Sergio Sette Camera, Lucas Di Grassi, Gary Paffett and Andre Lotterer, who dropped to 18th because of his penalty. Luciano Becchetta is 19th. Jet Aiken classified in 20th. And in 21st place as well, I think we lost another car in the closing stages of the race. I think that was Jake Dennis as well. Simone Di Silvestro retired, as did Fabio Lima. Oliver Rowland, Takuma Sato and Kamiya Sato failed to finish. Marcus Ericsson got the points for the fastest lap and for pole position. So more points coming in the way of Von Mattel. Well, the headline story is that Marcus Ericsson lost another win thanks to his own doing. And that hands the initiative over to his teammate Pascal Wehrlein, who's now the new championship leader in League 2 after this round. And Von Mattel and Marcel Lola take big steps towards promotion thanks to this result. I'll leave Topher Smith to run down on the championship standings after Dijon-Bourgogne's first ever Grand Prix World Series race.
Well, a huge congratulations to Mick Schumacher for taking his first Grand Prix World Series victory. A masterful drive there, taking advantage a bit of Marcus Ericsson's mistake earlier on in the race. But in order to finish first you must finish, as they say. And Mick Schumacher claiming all of the spoils today to take Mastercard Lola's second victory of the season. As for the driver's standings, well, Pascal Wehrlein's second place today has moved him up into the lead 1 point over Tatiana Calderon. It's still so close between these drivers as we hit the midpoint of the season. Marcus Ericsson, had he not had his mistake, should really be leading the Drivers' Championship once again, but that mistake threw him out of contention for a podium, and he is now third overall with 77 points, 4 behind his teammate Pascal Wehrlein, while Brendan Hartley has dropped down to P4 on 73 points. He'll want to turn that around at the next race at Brands Hatch and get himself right back into the thick of things. Alexander Rossi holding on to P5 in the standings ahead of Kimiya Sato. Lucas Di Grassi is on 48 points ahead of Jack Aitken on 47, Andre Lotterer on 35 and Takuma Sato on 34. Those drivers still keeping their positions within the top 10, but that could all change as we head into the second half of the season. Looking at the team standings, Von Mattel still holding on to the lead with 158 points. Mastercard Lola are on 123. They've moved into triple digits now with their victory today. Pacific Grand Prix are on 89 ahead of Zach Speed on 85. Dome have 83 and Force India have 59. And look how close it is between these three here. Force India on 59, LaRousse on 58 and Andrea Moda also on 58. 1 point separating 3 teams there. This is so competitive, this championship, and we absolutely love it for that. Scuderia Cologne's on 39 and Carlin on 27, still holding on to their top 10 place in the standings. But now we move on to League 1, the main attraction for the Grand Prix World Series. And heading into this one, Scott Dixon is leading the way on 89 points. He's a full race victory ahead of Will Power in second place, and will be looking to extend that even further here at Dijon-Bourgogne. Antonio Fix da Costa on 56 points ahead of Buemi and De Vries, who are both on 52 each. Roman Grosjean hasn't won a race yet this season, but is still holding on to 50 points in 6th place. Some very consistent point scoring for the Manor driver there. Helio Castroneves hasn't raced the last few times, but is still in the top 10 with 37 points, ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn, Robin Freins and Paul de Resta, the 2 Super Guris rounding out the top 10 on 36 and 34 points each. As far as the League 1 team standings are concerned, Leighton House ahead on 153, Simtek are on 125, and Minardi on 116. Those 3 teams very much leading the way so far this season, all of them in triple digits, all of them race winners this season, and it's going to get even more competitive as we get further into this championship. Manor are on 72 ahead of Super Guri on 70. Arrows falling away a bit from Manor and Super Guri on 54 points. HRT are on 36, ahead of Onyx on 33. Prost up into 9th on 26th, and BAR rounding out the top 10 with 23 points. And just the one driver change to bring you for this race, as Naoki Yamamoto picked up a 2-race ban last time out in Misano, having been involved in an instance with both of the AGS drivers in which both Herta and Sebastian Ogier retired. Yamamoto was given the blame on that one, so he has taken a 2-race ban, and sitting in for him at Midland Racing will be Rio Haryanto, taking his second Grand Prix World Series start this time. Alex Johnston excited at the prospects of Haryanto, as he scored points on his debut, and he hopes he could do the same again today. Now, before we get this race underway, we will take you through the grid, and once again, it is an all Minardi front row. Nick de Vries on pole position by a mammoth 0.7 of a second ahead of his teammate Antonio Felix da Costa. Huge pace from the Dutchman in qualifying, and surely he has to be the favourite to convert that to victory today. Scott Dixon is in third in the Simtek, 0.8 of a second behind de Vries, and Kamui Kobayashi getting one of his and Manna's best qualifying positions of the season so far. Stoffel Van Dorn, a bit of a better qualifying effort from him in 5th, ahead of Pato O'Ward and Danny Junkadea, both of the Arrows drivers, in 6th and 7th, but around a second and a half off of the pace of de Vries in 1st. Sebastian Buemi 8th in the Leighton House, ahead of Galeil and Willpower in the other Leighton House, 1.6 seconds off the benchmark as it stands. Marco Wittmann will start from 11th, ahead of Roman Grosjean in the Manor in 12th. Paul de Resta will be 13th in the Super Guri, ahead of both the AGS drivers of Colton Herta and Alex Palou, who returns from his disqualification. Sebastian Bourdais is in the Onyx and will start 16th, ahead of Felipe Nasr in the Midland in 17th. 2 HRTs of Sutil and Lin 18th and 19th, and Latifi will go from 20th in the BAR, 2.2 seconds off of the lead there. Robin Freins will be 21st, ahead of Roy Nassani and Artem Markelov, while Ria Haryanto, Mahavir O'Connor and Antonio Fuoco round out the grid for today. Well, we had a really good League 2 race, and we hope that League 1 will deliver just as much action, if not more. And to take you through it once again, it's down to Tom Cairns.
It's the second pole in a row for Nick de Vries, but can he convert it into a race win this time and get Minardi get them back on track here at Dijon-Bourgogne? The 5 red lights are on where the Garrett will be racing here in France for one last time today. It's lights out and away we go, and the 2 Minardis seems to be getting away well, but Da Costa has got the better of his Dutch teammate. Is going to lead into turn 1 first. So Da Costa leads, de Vries is second, and Kamui Kobayashi is up there in 3rd place in the Manor already. And Pato O'Ward is up there in 4th, so it looks like the 2 Simtacs have not got off to the best of starts. They're in 5th and 6th places with Dixon ahead of Van Dorn. It's Danny Junkadea in 7th place. It's Sean Galeil, Sebastian Buemi and Will Power making up the top 10 as they make their way through turn 3 with Da Costa in the lead ahead of de Vries. So it is Minardi 1 and 2, but in different positions from where they were on the grid. Kobayashi making a brilliant start in the Manor in 3rd place, looking to rebound from his disappointing showing in Misano. The same with Roman Grosjean, to be fair, who is in 11th place. He's made up positions at the start. So the drivers are coming round the back straight as Pato O'Ward is under threat from the championship leader Scott Dixon, who's looking to make up for lost time, and he's got back through on the Mexican to go up into 4th position and go after the top 3 with Kamui Kobayashi, the next driver up from him. So Da Costa and de Vries, neither of them making it to the end of Misano last time out due to mechanical gremlins for the pair of them. They really do need a strong result to really bounce back from that, as Van Dorn gets through on Ward at turn 9, and he's got up into... Oh, there's Galeil off the racetrack there, unfortunately, and he's got hit from behind as he rejoined. Who was that ran into him? Galeil is out of the race, but who was it that ran into the BAR as he rejoined back onto the circuit? Well, he had Sebastian Buemi alongside. He actually forced him off the track, did Buemi, and he got hit by Roman Grosjean. Did Galeil as he rejoined, or tried to rejoin back onto the circuit. So it looks like Galeil is out of the race. Did Grosjean suffer any damage from that too? We'll have a look to see. No, it doesn't look like he picked up any damage to Grosjean, but I want to have a look to see whether Buemi forced Galeil off the circuit. It didn't look like he had done. Galeil is out of the race, we know that for a certainty, but will any driver take any penalty from that? As the field come around to complete the first lap of the race, I don't think anyone other than Galea was at fault for it. Yeah, no further action has been taken in that incident. So it's just as it was with Galea out on the spot and Grosjean continuing on. That moves Boemi and Power up a position. Grosjean going up into the points as well in the manor. So we've got 2 Minardis, 2 Manors, 2 Simtex, 2 Arrows and 2 Leightonhouses in the top 10 placings in this race. Marco Wittmann is in 11th position in the Prost. He's looking to continue his scoring run from last time out in Misano. The same with his teammate Artem Markelov, who hasn't had a good qualifying session here in Dijon-Bourgogne, but the race is where it counts and he can most certainly make up for lost time there. As we see Dixon getting through on Kobayashi round the outside, but he's not able to make the move stick as they go into the hairpin at the end of the back straight. So Dixon having to wait behind for now. With Kobayashi in 3rd position in the manor. The 2 Minardis are shooting off it into the distance. And it's Nick de Vries yet again in the Minardi. Less than 2 laps in, and it's the end of the road for Nick de Vries here at Dijon-Bourgogne. And it's a huge setback in Minardi's championship chances. The car is on fire, and he needs to get off the circuit in due course, and he nearly collides with Scott Dixon as they come out of the last turn. Nick de Vries is going to be out of the race in due course, unless he can get that car back to the pit lane, which he's not going to do. So Nick de Vries goes no further here in France. A shocker to see the second driver out of this race. The only consolation Nick de Vries can take from this race is the pole position point, but that's all he's going to get. So he looks to get off the circuit, really. Does Nick de Vries, and there's an off! An accident! Was that a Prost that went off the track? Or was that an Onyx? I couldn't quite tell who that was. It was a blue livery car. It might have been... We'll look to see who it was. Was it Wittmann that went off the circuit? It wasn't. It was Sebastian Bourdais that went off, and he collided with one of these Super Aguris. That would have been Colton Herter, was it? No, it was Paul de Resta who he collided. So they come into turn 2. Up the inside came de Resta, and he came together with Bourdais. Bourdais goes off the circuit. He's out of the race, as is Nick de Vries. And I think there'll be a penalty coming in the way of Paul de Resta after that incident. And it could well be a race ban for de Resta because Bourdais was out on the spot as a result of the contact. Chaotic start here in Dijon-Bourgogne. 3 drivers out of the race: de Vries, Bourdais and Galea. And it's a 1 race ban and disqualification from this race for Paul de Resta. So Michael Gillespie is going to have to field his reserve driver at the next race, and it'll also be the first race that Paul de Resta will not compete in the Grand Prix World Series in its entirety. As we see Scott Dixon looking to make up another place at the expense of Kamui Kobayashi into turn 9, and Dixon is through and up into 2nd place. Dixon on a charge now in the Simtech as Da Costa looks to salvage something from this race with his teammate already out. And Paul de Resta's the reserve driver at Super Aguri is Oliver Behrman, and that would be an exciting young prospect to have, who will also take part in the mid-season test after this race. As we see another change in position, as it looks like the HRT of Alex Lynn is up the inside of Colton Herter into turn 1, and he's got up another place. Marco Wittmann is ahead of Romain Grosjean for your information as well. He's up into 9th place in the Prost. So looking at the reserve and test drivers who are going to be taking part in the mid-season test within the League 1 grid. So you've got Darren Turner and Will Stevens for Simtech, Oliver Behrman and Sacco Sullivan for Super Aguri, Kazuki Nakajima and Antonio Franco, I believe, will be in the Onyx for the mid-season test, with Danny Kvyat coming back from his 2-race suspension. Arrows, you've got Adrian Quafe-Hobbs and Rio Hirakawa. AGS have got Tom Cruise and Giovanni Amati taking part in that. BAR, you've got Antonio Giovinazzi and Guido Vandergaard. Mana with Marco Andretti and Bernie Eccleston, of all people, would you believe. Minardi, you've got Jean-Eric Verne and Jack Doohan. At 40, you've got Louis Delatraz and Jayan Duravala. Leighton House have got Helio Castroneves and Connor Daly. HRT with Lewis Williamson and Nick Yellerly. Prost have Nico Prost and Robert Schwartzman. And finally, Midland will run Rio Haryanto, or Naoki Yamamoto it could possibly be, instead of Rio Haryanto, because Rio Haryanto is expected, or I think he's in the car in the Midland for this round, with Naoki Yamamoto suspended. Frederick Festi will be in the Midland, though, for the mid-season test. So there it is, with the driver lineups there for the mid-season test. But back to the action with Antonio Fitz-Costa, 4.5 seconds clear over second place Scott Dixon. Kamui Kobayashi third, Stoffel Van Dorn in fourth place with Pato Award, Danny Juncadella, Sebastian Buemi, Will Power, Roman Grosjean is back ahead of Marco Wittmann now in 9th position. And Wittmann holding the final point in 10th place. Paul di Resta in 11th will be disqualified for the race for his collision with Sebastian Bourdais. And then we've got Nicholas Latifi in 12th position with Alex Lynn, Colton Herta and Adrian Sutil in the top 15 placings on track. Now we see a move from the Midland of Felipe Nasr, making a move up the inside of Roy Nissany. And that's for 16th position, so Midland, who are without a point since Yongam when Rio Haryanto scored those 2 points for them. They are in urgent need of form, as do Forti and AGS. And you can see a move from, well, looks like Alex Bolero. I think Roy Nissany is picking up an issue here as Will Power locks up heavily into the last turn and avoids Roman Grosjean, who I think is about to be overtaken by Marco Wittmann, who's alongside. He's got through rather easily. I think Grosjean's ducked into the pits because he's carrying an issue. Grosjean already in the pits at the end of lap 5 with problems. So there's a setback there for the Manor team as Kobayashi goes off the circuit in the gravel at turn 3 this time. Double disaster for Manor yet again here at Dijon-Bourgogne. And he's collided with the Simtek of Stoffel Van Dorn this time. Kobayashi off the circuit. An incredible chain of events for team manager Sam Hall. Yeah, Stoffel Van Dorn just punted Kobayashi off the circuit there. So I'd imagine Van Dorn will be picking up a time penalty for the collision. And Kobayashi just needs to be careful. He does not rejoin back up. He's taking out the Leighton House as he rejoins. Collision there between the Manor and the Leighton House. Stoffel Van Dorn gets a 10-second time penalty and the back of the grid shot for the next race. But Kobayashi is rejoined into the path of Will Power as he rejoins. Oh, that's shocking from Kobayashi. And Power gets hit from behind by Nicholas Latifi. So I'd imagine that Kobayashi is going to be hit with a time penalty for that unsafe rejoin. Oh, it's just terrible driving from Kobayashi, it has to be said. And Will Power lost placings because of it. So drama after drama after drama. And Kobayashi has picked up a 10-second time penalty for the unsafe rejoin. And he's very lucky as well, because that could have easily have taken out Will Power as a consequence. Had he taken out Will Power, Kobayashi would have got a race ban for it as well as a disqualification. And Scott Dixon running in second place, 4.3 seconds behind DeCosta. He's closing down the gap a little bit. We've seen Stoffel Van Dorn, who's got Pato Award behind him. Danny Juncadella 5th, Sebastian Buemi 6th, Kobayashi 7th now after that off. Wittmann 8th, Power 9th and di Resta 10th. As we see Sebastian Buemi making a move up the inside of Danny Juncadella into turn 9, and that is, well, what was going to be a change of position, but Juncadella ran wide and Buemi was able to get through. Now, was there contact between the two drivers going into turn 9? Let's have a look on the replay. And don't think any contact was made, really. I think both drivers did the best they could to make sure they left each other the room. I think Juncadella just left himself on the curb there. And there is DeCosta doing his best. Doing all he needs to do so far. He's got the fastest lap at the moment, which would net him a championship point. Dixon in P2, Van Dorn third. And it's O'Ward, Buemi and Youngkadea as we see Lynn behind Nicholas Latifi in the battle for 11th place, and behind Lynn is Colton Herter, Adrian Sutil and Felipe Nasser. So we see Antonio Freiko's towards the back there. Behind him is the Prost of Artem Markelov, who struggled in qualifying. He's trying to make up for lost time, but he's right at the rear of this bunch here. And he looks to maybe try and get a move on Freiko. Possibly at the end of the back straight. But there is Dixon, who's... Oh, that's DaCosta slowing! On lap 7, DaCosta is out! Both of the Minardis are out of the race after 6 laps! And into the lead goes Scott Dixon! It's another double disaster for team manager Giacomo Pagliaro. Antonio Felix DaCosta out of the race, and Minardi's season is going from bad to worse. Reliability issues are costing him horribly. Dixon into the lead now for Simtek, and not only that, it's a Simtek 1 and 2. Unbelievable. So much has been going on in these opening 7 laps. Minardi's race has gone up in smoke. And there we see Alex Lynn trying to get into the points by getting past Latifi. Can't quite able to do that at the present moment. As Rio Haryanto locks up into turn 1. Keeps the car on the circuit ahead of Antonio Freiko. 4 drivers out of the race now. DaCosta, De Vries, De Bourdais and Galeo. As we see, oh, and that's a car pulling off the circuit. That'll be Mahaveer Raghunathan. And that's a front left suspension failure for the Indian. And that's one of Dave Goddard's cars out of the race as well. I was going to say, did Haryanto and Freiko make contact going into turn 2? It didn't look like they had done. But either way, Raghunathan is out of the race now. He's the 5th driver to retire. Ryan Sani, who came in for a pit stop prematurely, is running in last place now in 21st. But at least he's still in the race. You can at least try and salvage something from that. But 40 are in desperate need of points at the moment. They are struggling. They have yet to score since the opening race of the season in Malaysia. And there is Dixon. 7.7 seconds clear of Stoffel Van Dorn. With Pato O'Ward in 3rd place, having his best race of the season so far. Buemi's up there in 4th for Leighton-House. It's Danny Youngkadea. Kamui Kobayashi's got a 10-second time penalty for the unsafe rejoin into the path of Willpower. Marco Wittmann is 7th, Willpower 8. Paul di Resta, who at the moment will be excluded from the race result for the collision with Sebastian Bourdais, is 9th. Nicholas Latifi is 10th. And outside the points is Alex Lynn, who would inherit the last point. Kobayashi's time penalty, remember. As we see the Midland there, that looked like Felipe Nasser trying to get through on Adrian Sutil. Now with Stoffel Van Dorn, he's also got a penalty for his collision early on in the race. That would have been for the contact with Kobayashi that sent Kobayashi off the racetrack. So as it stands, he would finish in 5th position, or 6th rather. There's a long way to go yet in this race anyway, and given Simtek's superior race pace, I think Van Dorn should be able to make up the time from there. It's unlikely he'll win the race unless something happens to Dixon up front. And that could change the situation with the championship. Well, I say change, it's all falling into place for the championship leader, because Scott Dixon went into this round 25 points clear of 2nd place Willpower, who's running in 8th place so far in this, on track anyway. DaCosta is only going to pick up a maximum of 1 point, and De Vries has already got the point for pole position. Now, if the results was to remain as they are, with Kobayashi's and Van Dorn's time penalties, Powell would move up pick up 6 championship points for finishing 7th, and Dixon will get the 25 for the race win. And the gap at the top would increase, to my calculation, to 44 points. Although with Sebastian Buemi, who's in 4th place at the moment on track, technically 3rd if you apply Van Dorn's time penalty, he'll go on to 67 points. Power would go on to 70. So as you see further back, that is the, well, it looks like the Super Aguri of Paul di Resta, I believe. It might be Robin Fines. Robin Fines wasn't at the best of qualifyings either. Outside the top 20 he was. I think he was in 21st place on the grid. I haven't seen too much of him in this race, but he is still in the race. Van Dorn running in P2 behind Dixon on lap 10. And Lynn is going to be up the inside of Nicholas Latifi, who looks like he's carrying an issue. He's not going very fast, this Latifi, and I think he's going to be in the pits at the end of this lap. And there is Dixon on his own at the front. And he's coming through turn 3 as Colton Herter gets through on Latifi, who ducks into the pit lane, and he'll fall towards the back of the field. Well, Simtek, as it stands, we're looking at the team's championship. They'll close in on Leighton House. If they were to get a 1-2 out of this, that would give them 43 championship points, which will move them on to 168. And Leighton House are on course for 4th and 7th. That would give them 18 championship points, and they'll put them on to 171. So the gap at the top would come down to just 3 points between Leighton House and Simtek. Minardi, at most, would only get 2 points from this race. They are slipping and slipping and slipping as Felipe Nasr is still fighting with Adrian Suter, looking to make a move around the outside, but can't make the move stick. Dixon having no such troubles up front. 10 seconds clear now of his Belgian teammate. Fitman, Power, di Resta and Lynn at the bottom end of the points as we speak. We are coming close to the first round of pit stops. Five drivers out of the race already. Maher Viraganatham, Antonio Felix da Costa, Nick de Vries, Sebastian Bourdais and Sean Galeo. Scott Dixon making it look so easy right now. I wonder if he's on a lighter fuel load to what his teammate is on, because Dixon seems to be constantly increasing the margin over his over Van Dorn. So we'll wait and see what when he decides to pit in for his first stop. As we see, Robin Fines locking up a little bit, but getting away with it, no problem. So drivers are on the back straight now. There's Robin Fines in 15th position. You see Pato Award in 3rd place, 16 seconds off the lead. He's 3 seconds clear over Sebastian Buemi, with Danny Uncadeo returning to form. He's in 5th place. Sutil is about to be overtaken now by Felipe Nasr, and the Brazilian has got through on the German. Now Nasr and Midland, who are in desperate need of points today, have got one of their cars up there in P12. Now Nasr's teammate Rio Haryanto is outside the top 15. He's still in the race at the present moment. So Dixon is carrying on what he's doing right now. He's continuing to pull out all the stops. He's over 11 seconds clear of Van Dorn. Danny Unkendair is through on Sebastian Buemi, who is carrying a problem in that Leighton house. It does not look good for him. Want to find out what the issue is for the Swiss. It does not look very good indeed. And I can imagine it'd be something like a brake issue or a throttle issue or something along those lines, as Wittmann gets through round the outside on the Swiss driver, and Buemi will want to let Will Power go here. And he needs to be careful he does not take out the Super Aguri of De Resta. He may be excluded from the races, De Resta, but that doesn't mean Buemi can start cutting across on him rather dangerously. Through goes Alex Lynn. And the next car behind Buemi is Colton Herter. Buemi's coming round and he'll be pitting at the end of this lap. He's coming through now. So Herter will move ahead, and it's an electrical problem for Sebastian Buemi. Wittmann and Lynn are also in the pit, so if Buemi was intending to pit around this time, then it's come at a convenient time, but he's lost so much time because of that mechanical issue. And that could cost him later on. So it's pit stops galore right now. The leader is on lap 14 as we watch Alex Palou go through turns 2 and 3, staying on the circuit. Now Alex Palou, who's back after a one-race ban for his shenanigans with Mahir Raghunathan in Istanbul. Sebastian Ogier substituted for him at the Italian circuit in Misano. Although Ogier only made it as far as half a lap in that race, although it wasn't his fault for what happened. It was Naoki Yamamoto who cut across on Sebastian Ogier, and Colton Herter was an innocent passenger in the mayhem. Naoki Yamamoto is serving a 2-race ban. I think not only that, he is being dropped in favour of Rio Haryanto. Scott Dixon comes into the pits from the race lead now, so we should see Van Dorn take over from the Kiwi. Now, is O'Ward going to be heading into the pits, or Unkendair? I would imagine one of them will be. Well, it's not going to be O'Ward. I think Unkendair is in the pits for his stop. Kobayashi will go up into 3rd place, and Dixon will rejoin behind Kobayashi in 4th place, although he's just behind Will Power now. So Dixon will try and get back through on Power on the circuit. We've got Unkendair, Nasser, De Resta, Markelov and Froko all in the pits for their first of 2 stops. As we see Kobayashi, remember he's got that 10-second time penalty for the unsafe rejoin. As we see Unkendair come out of the pits there. Oh, it looks to get nasty there. He's off the circuit. It's Unkendair. Now, it looks like he came together with Romain Grosjean as they went into turn 2. I'm not sure if there was contact there. Maybe Juncker didn't leave Grosjean enough room there. He didn't realise he was alongside. And we'll see what happened from Grosjean's part. Did he force him off the circuit? Now, look, don't think he made contact, but did he not leave Unkendair enough room on the inside? Well, let's see. Ooh, it looks rather dangerous there from Grosjean, the way he moved across on Unkendair. But Topher Smith, the team manager of the Arrows team, will not be very happy with this. And no further action is going to be taken on that incident. So, and there's an engine problem for one of the AGSs, and it's Colton Herter who's going to be on the sidelines yet again here. Another mechanical issue for Lewis Bassendale's team, who are struggling to find some form at the moment. And there is Colton Hertz pulling off the circuit. He's out of the race, and so is Junkadea, who's not been able to rejoin the racetrack. Junkadea is gone from this race as well, so that's another retirement from this race. So we've lost 7 drivers now in this one so far. Hertzer and Junkadea are the latest two to watch the race from the sidelines. And they are both out of the Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix. Van Dorn came into the pits at the end of lap 15, which sees Pato O'Ward take over the lead. I think it's the first time that O'Ward has led a Grand Prix World Series race. Dixon got through on Will Power on his outlap. And he's... Oh, and that's Sutil riding the curbs there and breaking his front wing. Terrible mistake there from Sutil. Just go too much speed into the corner. And a ride onto the grass very heavily has cost him his front wing. It's not what HRC needed either. So Sutil will have to go through a whole lap without a front wing to his car. As Palou gets through, or tries to get through on Sutil. He won't be happy with this, will Palou. Next driver behind Palou. Oh, he gets through on Sutil. That was very nearly contact. Going into the sharp right-hander, which is a couple of corners before the back straight. And there's O'Ward. Continuing on, the only Arrows driver left in the race now. Robin Friends gets through. Topher Van Dorn has already got through on the HRT. And behind Sutil now will be Marco Wittmann, who's already made a pit stop. He's in front of Roman Grosjean, for your information. And there's Sebastian Buemi, who's trying to recover after the mechanical gremlins he's had with the electrical problem he had, which meant that for most of the lap he had to tour around with that problem. Hence why he's outside the points in 14th. There's Scott Dixon, less than a couple of seconds behind Kobayashi, who's yet to stop in this race. Lap 17. Approaching the halfway point in this Dijon-Bourgogne League One Grand Prix. It looks like O'Ward and Kobayashi are going to be making the one stop. And I think Will Power and Alex Palou will be doing the same. Robin Friends likewise. And Sutil will be in the pits to get that nose cone changed. Or get a nose cone fitted on, because he went round without a nose cone. Did the German. And there's Alex Lynn, who gets through on Paul Di Resta rather easily. I think Di Resta is carrying an issue himself now. Not a pleasing sight there for Michael Gillespie. As we see Alex Palou getting through on Van Dorn by the looks of it. Wheel to wheel there, but Van Dorn is able to hold his nerve and position. Now Palou, who's yet to stop in this race, is showing some quality pace there in the AGS. There's Buemi on the inside of the BAR of Nicholas Latifi, with the Super Aguri in the way there. That is Paul Di Resta. And so that was rather clever from Buemi, because he managed to box Latifi in to ensure that he wasn't going to be able to fight back, and Di Resta's really struggling with the problem that he's got. And now we're seeing a battle for second place as Dixon is close right up on Kobayashi. There's no need for him to rush this one. He's got all the time that he needs to get the overtake completed. Behind Dixon is Will Power. As we see second and third place drivers coming through. As Pato O'Ward is continuing on in the race lead. Di Resta in now from 14th position. We watch Kobayashi and Dixon go side by side at the end of the back straight, and Dixon going right round the outside to complete that overtake on the Japanese to move his Simtek up into second position now. An excellent overtake from the Kiwi. And the reigning champion of the Grand Prix World Series coming back through the field towards the front after his pit stop. There's Alex Lynn closing in on Grosjean. This is the battle for 9th place. And Lynn is up the inside and through into that place. So Alex Lynn, podium finisher in Misano by finishing 2nd. Coming on form again today as we see the Midland of Felipe Nasr behind the BAR of Nicholas Latifi. The two Midland cars are 13th and 14th. They've not had too many issues so far in this race. They really could do with a point score with both drivers ideally. We've already lost an AGS, we've already lost a 40. But the Midland cars are still going. Before this race, 40 arrived with 6 points, AGS 5 and Midland 2. They're a long way from safety at the moment, so they need points sooner rather than later, really. You can see Felipe Nasr going for it again on Nicholas Latifi into turn 1. He can't quite make the move stick this time around. As we see O'Ward continuing to push on at the moment. Well, lap 19. It's 3.3 seconds in sector 2, but it looks a lot less than that, given the way that Dixon is clawing back the gap. O'Ward has yet to stop in this race, remember. And it looks like he's run about 2 seconds clear of Dixon as they come across the line to complete lap 19. As we see Nasr going for it again on Latifi on the outside, trying to replicate what Dixon did with Kobayashi. He can't get through on this occasion. Right on board with Dixon in the Simtech in 2nd position. So Ronnie Mention's got all the time he needs to get through on O'Ward. Van Don and Kobayashi have got 10-second time penalties. Van Don has it for the collision he had with Kobayashi, and Kobayashi's got his 10-second time penalty for rejoining unsafely into the path of Will Power. As it stands, Kobayashi would drop behind Power, Van Don would drop behind Palou and Frines, but some drivers have yet to stop in this race as we see Nasr and Latifi almost making contact into turn number 1. Both drivers getting away with it. As we can see, Kobayashi in 3rd place. Sebastian Buemi's in 11th position behind Romain Grosjean. So Buemi trying to get back into the points. We're still with this battle between Latifi and Nasr for 12th. Back straight. There's Dixon, 1.8 seconds now behind Pato O'Ward. As we see a change in position there, and it looks like Wittmann had lost the position to Frines. And how far is Lynn behind Wittmann? It's showing that Wittmann is 6 seconds behind. No, Lynn is 3 seconds behind Wittmann, as we see Nasr getting a move done on Nicholas Latifi, but he cannot get the move completed or stick. He cannot make the move stick, I should say. Power and Palou coming in for their only stops at the end of lap 20. And now Dixon is all over the back of the arrows now. On the hunt for his 3rd win of the season. Froko locking up in the last turn. And he's got Artem Marklov right behind. So they come over the line to complete another lap. Palou's just done his stop now. And he should rejoin. He's behind Rio Haryanto, but Van Dorn is out. What's happened to Stoffel Van Dorn? Has he had an issue? It's a mechanical problem for the Belgian. What a shame, because he was looking good for another good result when he needed. And so he's the next to fall from this race. Stoffel van Dorn out of the Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix. No points for him, unfortunately, today. He's got to hope that kind of luck doesn't strike his teammate Scott Dixon. And Marco Fittmann going through up into 5th place now. We are seeing a battle for the lead with O'Ward ahead of Dixon. I think O'Ward will be in the pits at the end of this lap. We'll wait to see. No, he's staying out there for another one. Is O'Ward. He feels he can take the fight with Dixon as Kobayashi comes into the pits for his only stop of the race from 3rd place. And I think in terms of with the positions as they are, with the gaps there is, Friends is still yet to come into the pits for his only stop. And he could well, Kobayashi could well remain in 3rd position. There's your top 2. O'Ward ahead of Dixon now. Well, Friends is ahead of Kobayashi. So Kobayashi rejoins in 4th place behind the Dutchman. As we watch Will Power ride the curve, and he's broken his front wing as Will Power. The man, 2nd place in the championship, has made a costly mistake into turn 1. Running wide and breaking the left side of his front wing. So he will be back in the pits for a new nose cone as well. And there's Dixon on the inside of O'Ward, and he takes the lead of the League 1 Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix. Dixon into the race lead then as we see Grosjean getting through on the wounded Will Power. And he's got up into 8th place. Keeps it on the circuit this time. And now Friends is in 3rd place. Doing a really fine job so far. From 21st on the grid. And he's still got a pit stop to do. Wittmann is in 5th position behind Kobayashi as we see Nasser on the inside of Nicholas Latifi into the hairpin. And that is a change for position with Nasser going up into the points. O'Ward pits in from 2nd place. We want to get a new set of tyres on, and I think Friends should be in the pits at the end of this lap as well. He's done a superlative job to get himself up to the position of where he is without needing to fight with too many drivers. He's got 3 more laps of fuel left on his gauge as well, which is interesting, really. And there is Nasser getting through on Will Power, sorry. So Will Power will fall out of the points here as Buemi comes in, which means that Will Power will probably have to wait behind his teammate. So it's not been a good race really for Leighton House, given Buemi's problems earlier on. So here's your top 10. Dixon leads, O'Ward 2nd, Kobayashi 3rd. Then it's Wittmann, Lin, Grosjean, Nasser, Latifi, Haryanto and Palou. What a result this would be for Midland, with Nasser in 7th and Haryanto in 9th. Both drivers really could do with a good haul of points today to boost the team's points total from where they are right now with 2 points. Should they get 7th and 9th, that would increase it by 8 points and move them on to 10. And crucially above AGS and 40. There is Dixon, over half a minute in front of O'Ward now, but Dixon is due in for another pit stop before this race is over. 16 laps remaining. And not only will Dixon need to get past O'Ward, he'll probably need to get through on Kamui Kobayashi as well. There's Marco Wittmann running up there in 4th position. He's already made a pit stop in this race, I think, as Wittmann. His teammate Artem Markov is in 12th place behind Antonio Froco. There is Dixon, stroking along. He's probably got a big enough gap to rejoin in front of O'Ward. Now, it was round about lap 13 or 14 when he came into the pits for his first one, so I'd say in a few laps' time, we should see Dixon in the pits again. Grosjean running in P6. Kobayashi, who's running in third place, is carrying a 10-second time penalty for rejoining into the path of Will Power. As we see O'Ward in second place, he's got no time penalty to his name, and he's very much on course for a podium finish here today. O'Ward, who his highest finish has been 5th, and that was in Fuji. He's finished in the points in 5 of his first 7 races in the Grand Prix World Series. Today it looks like he's going to make it 6 from 8. Right on board here with the manner of Kamui Kobayashi chasing Pato O'Ward. Now we're back to Scott Dixon again. He wants to continue to build the gap. And imagine he'll be coming up to back markers in a short while. Approaching the end of lap 25 with 14 laps to go at the end of this one. We've got Dixon, O'Ward, Kobayashi, Wittmann, Lin. As we see Will Power trying to get through on Paul di Resta in the battle for 17th position. And these two are in the last running places. Power trying to make up for lost time. Felipe Nasr still in P7 with Harrienzo in 9th. Now Alex Palou looks to be on course for what would be his first point in the Grand Prix World Series, I think. Oh no, actually got an 8th place finish in Fuji. Colton Hurd's got the 1 point in Sentul. And Alex Lynn's in for his second pit stop from 5th position, as is Grosjean from P6. There's Will Power trying to get through on di Resta. And Nasr is also in. We've also got Froko and Markov in the pits as well. Will Power is making a move up the inside now of Paul di Resta into turn 1, and he should make this move stick here, and he does so. Dixon looking on course for back-to-back wins. Should he win today, it'll be the 6th of his career. Well, the 7th of his career, I should say. Picked up his 6th career win last time out in Misano. Sebastian Buemi on the outside of Adrian Sutil into the hairpin. He's not able to make the move stick this time around. And behind Buemi, he's got Alex Lynn, who's just pitted. Scott Dixon out in the lead right now. Into the hairpin. Arianto is the next to head for pit road. He'll fall out of the top 15, I think, because of the gaps of the other drivers behind. Misano's coming in for 40. Is through on Arianto as well. And it looks like Alex Lane's trying to get through on Sutil. Buemi got through on Sutil on the last lap, or at the beginning of this one. Kobayashi's still closing on O'Ward as Dixon pits in for the last time at the end of lap 27. He had a 34-second gap over Pato O'Ward before he came in, which should be enough to keep hold of the race lead. You can see he's coming out of the pits now. O'Ward is way too far behind. So Dixon will keep hold of the race lead, no problem whatsoever. He'll be a long way clear. Wittmann pits in from 4th place. I think he'll rejoin probably just behind Palou. He may get out just in front of him. Latifi is also in. So Palou goes through ahead of Wittmann. So Wittmann will rejoin in front of Freins now, I believe, but it's nip and tuck between those two. Freins is in front of Wittmann into 5th place, so Wittmann is in 6th. Just waiting for the gaps to update because Dixon came into the pits from the race lead. So the gaps that you're seeing now are not quite accurate to what they should be. Kobayashi's time penalty would not lose him any positions. Dixon in the race lead, just under 5 seconds clear of Pato O'Ward. Alex Palou up in 4th place for AGS. With by far the team's best results so far this season. Now Midland, who at one point had both cars in the points. As Grosjean gets through ahead of Sutil for 9th. The Midland cars are 11th and 15th right now. Wittmann will be looking to bounce back and chase after Freins, but this will be a great result for Prost with Wittmann up there. He's a couple of seconds ahead of Sebastian Buemi. Wittmann will be on the fresher tyres to the Leighton House. Will Power, after his mistake earlier on, is in 12th position behind Felipe Nasr. Eight team drivers running in this race. We've lost 8 so far. Stoffel van Dorn is out. Colton Herta is out. We've also lost Danny Jonken-Deyer, Mahathir Raghunathan, Antonio Felix da Costa, Nick de Vries, Sebastian Bourdais and Sean Galayle. Paul di Resta, who's running in 14th position, will be excluded from the race result and banned for the next race at Brands Hatch for the collision with Sebastian Bourdais that put Bourdais out of it. And Wittmann is on the inside of Freins for 5th place, and his spirited race continues, and he goes ahead of the Super Aguri, and a new fastest lap has gone in the way of Scott Dixon, 1:46.6 for the Kiwi. That's a point going his way potentially, and for Simtek. Minardi no longer have that now. All they're going to get is the pole position point that De Vries got. Now, O'Ward is just ahead of Kobayashi by over a second. Even if Kobayashi was to get in front of O'Ward, O'Ward would still finish ahead of the Japanese unless Kobayashi can pull out more than 10 seconds on him to finish second behind Dixon. And Wittmann, who got past Freins on the previous lap, is closing in on Alex Palou for 4th position. Kobayashi closing in on Award. Kobayashi's gap over Palou is way more than enough for him to keep hold of his 3rd place. 10-second time penalty for the unsafe rejoin, which is rather generous if you ask me, because I thought it was rather dangerous the way Kobayashi rejoined. And another new fastest lap from Dixon, 1:46.4. Very good lap time. So Ward doing his best to keep his car on the circuit. Three and a half seconds between Palou and Wittmann as Latifi gets through on the inside of Will Power for 12th place. It's a nice move as Power gets back through ahead of him there. It's almost a collision between the pair of them, but they keep going. You can see Palou and Wittmann's gap has reduced quite significantly. On lap 31, Dixon is continuing to stretch out his lead to more than 10 seconds over O'Ward. Just under 2.1 seconds between Palou and Wittmann. So as you see Dixon coming round to complete lap 31. He's got 8 laps to go. He's looking good for victory number 3 for the season, number 7 of his career. And as he stands with Will Power out of the points, Costa not scoring any points, and Buemi, who's on course for only 6 points in this race. The gap at the top between Dixon and Power, who will be second, will be 50 points going into the next race in Brands Hatch. It's really falling into place for Dixon now, who will start to think about clinching his 2nd consecutive title. As Nicholas Latifi gets through on Will Power this time, and up into 12th place he goes. Kobayashi P3 with Sebastian Buemi in P7, unless he can get the move done on Robin Freins at turn 1. He very nearly did, but Freins was able to resist and keep him behind. But for how long? Because Buemi is trying to get through on him into turn 2. And he has a go, but Freins goes off. There's definitely contact between the two drivers. That was bound to happen with how close Buemi was. Gets on the inside, contact made between the pair of them, and Freins pays the price for it. There's Buemi on the inside. He was never headed into the corner, and I'd imagine there'll be a penalty coming his way for that. Just goes from bad to worse for Leightonhouse, it has to be said. Freins doing his best to get out of the gravel trap at the moment. Super Aguri's race has gone from bad to worse too. And Freins looking to get out of the grass. He's behind Froko and Marklov. And in fact, Freins is gone. He's out of the race, is Freins. So could that mean a race ban coming in the way of Sebastian Buemi, as well as his disqualification from this race? We'll look to see what the stewards' verdict will be on this, because it could be significant for the championship. And the verdict is a disqualification and a 1 race ban for Sebastian Buemi. So should that penalty stand, Helio Castroneves could be back in the car for Brands Hatch next time out. can see Wittmann closing in on Palou quite rapidly. And I want to get him moved on as soon as possible here. What a drive this has been from Marco Wittmann and from Alex Palou. Just looking to see where they were on the grid, really. Well, Palou, 15th to 4th, Wittmann 11th to 5th. Let's see who else has made up quite a number of positions. Sutil up from 18th to 9th, Lymph from 19th to 7th. And Nazar is in the final points pay position in 10th, but with Bohemi's disqualification, he could well be finishing 9th in this race. And there's O'Ward ahead of Kobayashi. And what about Palou? Is he going to be able to hold off Wittmann on this occasion? It's going to be very difficult for him to do so, as we see Willpower dropping back again, and it looks like he's encountering an issue of his own once more. It just sums up Leighton House's day on a track where their team manager Chris Cavani had designed. It's not been a happy home hunt in a way for him. Leighton House on the brink of not getting any of their cars in the points today. As Froko goes through, Markelov will go through as well. And Willpower, I'm not even sure he'll get back to the pit lane. No, it's a terminal problem for Willpower. He is gone from the Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix in League One. And that sums up team manager Chris Cavani's day altogether. Wittmann is through ahead of Palou, for your information. He did it into turn 1. And he's up into 4th position now in the Prost, and looking very good for Prost's best result of the season. His teammate Artem Markelov is only running in 15th place. On track anyway, but with Buemi's disqualification and De Resta's disqualification, he could well be moving up a couple of positions as a result. So all is not lost there for Markelov. He may as well keep going in case something does happen to more of the cars ahead. Scott Dixon, 5 laps away from victory. He won't want to celebrate too early, given what happened to De Costa in the last race in Misano. He just needs to bring the Simtech home. He's the only Simtech left in the race, and the team need these points. With Leighton House not scoring, the gap between the two teams will come down to just 3 points going into the next race at Dijon-Bourgogne, although Dixon has got the point for the fast lap as well, so the gap will be 2 points between the team managers of Chris Cavani and Scott Woodward. There's Dixon, 16 seconds clear of Patrick Ward. And he's coming up behind a bat marker. Can't quite tell who that is, unless it's actually a car that's already pulled off the circuit. I think I was looking at Will Power's car. And the man running in last place right now, I think, is Roy Nassani in the 40. There's O'Ward running in second place. Arrows in need of some form right now. As it stands, Arrows will go in front of Super Aguri into 5th place. Mano are about to get both cars in the points. Kobayashi 3rd, and Grosjean, who'll go up to 7th. He will pull further away from Super Aguri and Arrows. HRT are looking good to get both cars in the points, with Lynn potentially getting 6th and Sutil 8th. That will give them 12 championship points, which will move them on to 48. Onyx are not looking like they're going to be scoring today, but Prost will be. And as it stands, they will move ahead of Onyx, and they go on to 38. And BAR will collect a championship point from this race, courtesy of Nicholas Latifi. Midland are on course to get 2 championship points, which will move them on to 4. And AGS will get 10 championship points, which will move on to 15. And closer to the survival bracket. But 40 have got a lot of work to do, as do Midland. Four laps remaining here at Dijon-Bourgogne. Dixon not too far from home now. O'Ward looking good for his first podium. Kobayashi, who's celebrated many podiums in the past. He's about to celebrate his first podium of the season, even with the time penalty. As we see Scott Dixon again coming through the sharp hairpin, I should say. There's Boemi, who's in 6th place on track, but will lose that because of the collision with Robin Frines that put Frines out. And towards turn 1 he comes, as Kobayashi is still behind O'Ward, but even if he finishes in front of O'Ward, he'll lose it because of his time penalty. So he doesn't need to try to do anything stupid from here. And Nasser is through on Sutil, for your information. It's gone into 9th place, which will become 8th by the end of this one. More points coming in the way of Alex Johnston's Midland squad. I believe we'll go level on points with 40 as it stands. And looking at the results, I think 40 will still be ahead on countback. But I could be wrong, actually. No, I think 40 will still be ahead on countback by the narrowest of margins. But at least Midland are picking up a positive result for once today, when they very much needed. There is Dixon on his penultimate lap now. He's not far away from the checkered flag. Pat O'Ward on course for his first podium in the Grand Prix World Series. Kobayashi on course for his first podium for Manor, after being with Arrows in the previous 2 seasons. Down the back straight once more. Wittmann looking very good for 4th position in the Prost. As Dixon is about to start the final lap of the race, as Latifi goes for a move on Sutil, but he's taken Sutil out! Sutil out of the race at turn 1, and Latifi has got through, but there'll be a punishment coming his way. So I think Latifi will most certainly pick up a disqualification and a race ban, which is something he had already accomplished this season when he took out Alex Palou in Sentul. Now we'll see what the stewards say on that, and I think we should expect the inevitable here. And it's a disqualification and a 1-race ban for Nicholas Latifi. No surprise and no complaints. That's the 3rd driver disqualified from this race because of taking out another driver. And Dixon's in the pits! What's happened to Dixon? It's an electrical problem for the race leader! I don't believe it! I just do not believe it! 1 lap to go and he cannot get round! He would have retired on the last lap had he got round. And it looks like Pat O'Ward is going to celebrate his first Grand Prix World Series victory. Arrows are about to celebrate for the first time this season, but what rotten luck for Scott Dixon and for Simtek, who had everything go right for them in this race. At best, they're going to have second place. O'Ward into the lead with 1 lap to go, unless he has any problems of his own. And Kobayashi's trying to get through into the race lead, but even if he gets through, he'll drop back because of his time penalty. An incredible chain of events. Dixon into the pits with a problem. He's come back out again in 3rd place. But he's not going to be celebrating victory today. Unbelievable. Pato O'Ward into the lead, but Kobayashi is trying to get through ahead of him. Now, is O'Ward carrying a problem there? Because Kobayashi got through on O'Ward rather easily. I think O'Ward has got a problem. He's got a problem as O'Ward. He's slowing quite dramatically. It's the last lap and Kobayashi is into the lead. But he's not got a big enough cushion over Dixon to keep hold of it. So a 3rd different leader in a space of just under a lap. And in the unlikeliest of circumstances, Scott Dixon could well be winning this race. 1 corner to go then. Kobayashi is going to cross the line first, but he is not going to be taking the victory. Is it going to be O'Ward or is it going to be Dixon? I think it's going to be O'Ward because I think O'Ward has got a big enough cushion to keep Dixon back. Kobayashi will cross over the line first, but Pato O'Ward is going to take his first Grand Prix World Series win. He wins the League 1 Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix ahead of Dixon. Kobayashi comes home in 3rd place with the time penalty applied. A huge sigh of relief for team manager Topher Smith of the Aero squad. Rotten luck for Simtek, but they'll take a 2nd place finish. Kobayashi comes home in 3rd position on with the time penalty applied. Wittmann will be 4th for Prost. Alex Palou, his best result in 5th, just ahead of Sebastian Buemi. He'll be excluded from the race result for the contact with Robin Fries. So Alex Lynn will be 6th, Remo Grosjean 7th. And what a result for Midland. Felipe Nasr in 8th place. Hats up to him. Latifi will be excluded from the race result for his contact with Adrian Sutil. So it's not going to be Ponderosa because he's also going to be excluded from the race result for a contact he made with someone else. So Rio Haryanto will be 9th for Midlands, and in the last points place will be Antonio Froco in the Onyx. Markov 14th, and Nissan will be the last of the finishers in 15th place. But there's your race winner. For the first time in the Grand Prix World Series, it is Pato O'Ward in the Arrows. Scott Dixon 2nd ahead of Kamui Kobayashi, who would have got that win had it not been for the contact with someone else earlier on in the race. Marco Wittmann 4th ahead of Alex Palou, Alex Lynn, Roman Grosjean, Felipe Nasr, Rio Haryanto and Antonio Froco rounding out the top 10. A big day for Prost, AGS and for Midland. Much needed points for them. Artem Markelov is 11th ahead of Roy Nassani. Adrian Sutil is classified in 13th. Will Power retired, as did Robin Fries, Stoffel Van Dorn, Colton Herter, Danny Junkendale, Mahavira Gunnathan, Antonio Felix da Costa, who were lost early on in the race due to mechanical gremlins. He could have been the race winner today as well. Nick de Vries also retired, as did Sebastian Bourdais and Sean Galale. Nicholas Latifi, Sebastian Bourdais and Paul de Resta all disqualified and carrying 1 race bans each at the next round in Brands Hatch. Scott Dixon got the point for the fastest lap. Nick de Vries got the point for pole position. Well, with Dixon picking up 19 points instead of 26 as he should have got, but his lead in the championship is increasingly handsome now. It was 25 points at the beginning of today. The gap is now 44. A big day in the championship. Dixon at the halfway point is looking good for his 2nd consecutive title. And in terms of the team's championship, Simtek closing on Lighthouse. It could have been so much more for them, but what a day in the championship, and what a great result for those who have been struggling for points all season, who have managed to get themselves some today. Let's run down on the championship standings, courtesy of Topher Smith, and I'll speak to you next time in Brands Hatch.
Well, absolute drama at the end of the Dijon-Bourgogne Grand Prix, and it results in Pato O'Ward taking his maiden Grand Prix World Series victory and Arrow's first race win of the season. Who could have predicted that ending there? Kamui Kobayashi crossing the line first, but a 10-second penalty taking away the victory and dropping him to 3rd. As far as the driver standings are concerned, after that thriller in Dijon-Bourgogne, Scott Dixon has extended his lead in the standings, now on 108 points, with Willpower in second place on 64. Dixon's absolutely dominated the first half of the season, and his rivals will have to play a bit of catch-up if they are to close that gap when we come to the next race in Brands Hatch and beyond. Antonio Fix da Costa is third on 56 points, equal with Romain Grosjean, also on 56, but da Costa ahead on countback. De Vries on 53 points, retiring once again out of the lead of a Grand Prix. And Giacomo Pagliaro might have to think a bit more about his reliability package when it comes to the next upgrade window. Sebastian Buemi is 6th in the Leighton House on 52. Pato O'Ward also on 52 points, moving up to 7th after taking victory today. Helio Castroneves is 8th ahead of Kamui Kobayashi, moving up the order after his podium today. And Robin Freins rounds out the top 10 in the Super Aguri on 36 points. With the team's standings in League One, Leighton House on 153 points. Simtek closing that gap a bit with Dixon's second place finish today, 144 points for Scott Woodward's team. Minardi third on 117. Manor on 93, and Arrows have moved back ahead of Super Aguri for 5th place on 79 points, while Super Aguri sits on 70. HRT 7th on 44 points, ahead of Prost on 38, Onyx Grand Prix on 34, and BAR on 23, keeping themselves in the top 10 at the midway points of the season. Well, it's been some absolutely fantastic racing today. We hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you join us next time as we take on the British circuit of Brands Hatch. Until then, take care.